So you just started your first job, and now you're kind of curious, what do you do with your money? Today's video is all about that.
All my thoughts are running around inside my head. Emotions keep coming, they're keeping me from thinking straight. Thought it would be different when I got my things in place. Stuck in this commotion, how come I ain't past this yet?
Real quickly, before we introduce ourselves, I just want to let you guys know that this is our opinion. We are not financial advisors, and that is our disclaimer.
I'm Ryan, this is Michelle. We're Hey Alexa, and we're a millennial couple trying to get out of debt so that one day we can live our dream life. The first thing you want to do when you're starting your financial life is you want to list out all of your expenses and all of your income. We also have a free download in the description of this video with a list of common expenses so that you can look that over and make sure that you don't miss anything.
Because we've done that before. Once you have everything set in place, we essentially just gave you the formula for a budget. So you'll take your income minus your expenses, and hopefully those balance. If they don't balance, then we likely need to raise that income or reduce our spending. The next thing you'll want to do is go ahead and get an emergency fund set in place. If we could go back in time, we would at least have something set aside. I'm not sure that either of us know what that would look like, but something.
Yeah, and just be thinking about, like, if you lost your job tomorrow, would you be able to pay your bills, or are you going to find yourself in debt or in more debt?
Keep in mind, too, you guys, that there are so many different versions of an emergency fund. So you have your $1,000 emergency fund, also dubbed the baby fund. You have the 3 to 6 months, and then you have somewhere in between that where we fall, and that's 1 month expenses that we have put in our savings account in case something happens. And at any point, I could get hurt, Ryan could get hurt, and at least we know that we have 1 month before anything terrible happens financially.
Another thing going off of that is the miscellaneous budget. Make sure that you have money set aside every month for those unexpected expenses. This is more of like not your emergency sorts of situations, but just the things that come up, like birthdays or your dog gets fleas, those sorts of things. So that way you're not having to replenish that. We budget about $100 to $200 a month. Do whatever you think makes sense for you.
Absolutely. Another thing you can do, and I know that we absolutely wish we would have done, is make a list of all the items that you're either wanting to save for or that you need to pay off. I would likely put the payoff first and then the saving second, so that you get all of your debt paid off and then you go and start saving. So one thing that we've mentioned in the past is the envelope system. And what that is you're making, the old school way of doing that is taking actual physical envelopes and putting car or wedding or ring or whatever you're trying to save for, you're putting that on the envelope and then you're putting money into it. One way that we've decided to do that a little bit less physical with less cash involved is we use our account, and we have little segments in our account. What are they called?
Just individual savings or club accounts.
And those are all titled for us so that we can see like exactly what we're putting money aside for. Things that we put aside are car maintenance, Christmas, little things that are going to come up, clothes that we absolutely need the money for, but we don't want to just have a completely different account for, but we need to see it set aside so we don't touch it in our everyday spending.
And another way that we're able to accomplish this is by automating all of our saving. So it's really easy to make those accounts and then forget to actually put the money in there because you start spending money and then the money's not there, or you just forget to make the transfer. So we've set up automatic transfers that you can either have them come straight out of your paycheck, or they can come out of the account the paycheck is going into those individual accounts. That really just helps us stay organized and make sure that we don't miss it. And not only can you automate your saving, but you can also automate your bill paying. You can use, obviously a lot of merchants have their own automatic payment options. Usually you can set it up so it comes directly out of your account as an ACH, or some of them you can pay with a debit card. There's all sorts of options. And you can also set it up from your own individual financial institution through online banking, usually using bill pay. And just a quick word of warning with bill pay, is that bill pay typically does not go directly from, it's usually not an electronic process, but it actually is like cutting a real check that's going to go get sent in the mail, and it could take a couple weeks to get there. So if you're going to use the bill pay option, just make sure that you give yourself enough time for that bill to actually get there. It's a common misconception. So if it's happened to you, just know it's happened to a lot of people.
There's no shame. There's no shame in any of it. We've been there. The next thing we want to talk about, you guys, is something that we've already done a whole video on, so you'll need to check it out. We'll link it up here. I think I was told it's this direction. But it's knowing how to live within your needs instead of your wants. It's absolutely okay to have some wants, but you also need to know that it is 100% justifiable for you as a young 20-something to not be in a brand new house, a brand new car with brand new designer clothes. It is okay, and you should take it as a badge of honor that you're currently getting to weather the frugality storm so that later you'll be in a better place financially.
Quick aside, did you know that Gucci is like ridiculous? I was looking at shoes and it was like $60, $70, $50, $350, and I was like, those look weird.
They're designer.
I see. Whoa. So another tip is to categorize your purchases weekly. So every single week, make sure that you're sitting down using whatever mobile app you might be using or online budgeting tool. There's Mint, there's EveryDollar, there's your own online banking system that you have with your financial institution. Whatever you're using, it's helpful to sit down often to categorize your purchases so that you know exactly what you spent your money on. Because if you wait until the end of the month, say your budget, looking over your budget at the end of the month, and trying to remember everything that you spent money on the entire month, it's really difficult. And it's overwhelming. There's so many purchases.
So another thing that I would highly recommend doing, or that we would highly recommend doing, is going ahead and taking your employer 401k match. All that means is that if you put a certain percentage of money into your 401k, the employer is going to match that at a certain percentage. So typically they're going to, if you put in, let's say 6%, they'll match up to 3%. But 3% of whatever you're putting in, it's 3% of your income that they match.
And all that's pre-tax.
And that's your retirement fund. So the earlier you start doing that, the better. It's not the amount of money you're putting in, it's more the length of time that you're allowing it to accrue. $100 goes a long way, and I would highly recommend starting that at your first job. And if you do decide to transition to a new job later, you can take that money and roll it into your new establishment's 401k or a Roth IRA. There are a lot of different options. And to those of you who maybe don't have the benefits of a 401k match, then there are other options like a Roth IRA. All of that to say, we really recommend starting to save for your retirement with your first job, at least with $100 a month.
And just to make that point even more clear, we actually have another video that I did on a previous channel called The Rule of 72, if you want to see how much your money really can grow just by starting early, even if it's not a ton of money.
And we'll link that right there.
So the next tip is you don't have to eat out every meal. It may seem like it's way easier to eat out. I don't have time to put together food. We found that meal prepping can really help, or just buying really simple meals, or preparing really simple meals, thank you, rather than eating out. Because even though it may seem like $5 to $10 isn't that much money for one meal, if you think about the fact that you would only be spending $1 or $2 at home and you're doing that, say, 5 times a week, that money's really going to add up.
I don't know about you guys, but when I got my first job, I was like high rolling, right? I rolled into the coffee shop every morning, ordered my tall, blonde flat white with soy milk and a pump of toffee nut every single day, right? And that's like a $6 drink, and that adds up fast, especially if you're adding on top of the fact that you're also eating out with that. So you're adding anywhere from $100 to $200 a month just in food, plus another, let's say, I don't know, what is that? What is that math? 6 times 7. Well, 6 times 5 is $30 a week on coffee, when you can buy a $10 pound of coffee that will last you some milk, sugar, little vanilla. I promise you, under $10, you're gonna have at least 2 weeks worth of coffee. That's not to say that I hate coffee shops. I love them.
Yeah, there's definitely a time and a place for a coffee shop. But if you can go making your coffee at home for a long time, you might feel pretty good about going out to a coffee shop and enjoying yourself. So, do you want me to just hop into it?
Hop into it.
So yeah, with credit cards, this is totally like unrehearsed. So
here you go.
Here it comes.
Raw and unedited.
We feel like credit cards really can be a great thing, but
you can use them strategically.
Exactly. And it's really easy to think, oh, I could do this, and then to get caught in the spell of credit cards. Because I will tell you, as someone that works at a financial institution, credit cards are just not the same as other loans. Just so you know, they actually work entirely differently, and they compound interest very differently, and the way that you pay them off is different. So if you think like, oh, well, having my credit card is the same as like getting a personal loan, it's totally different, and your interest rate is usually way higher as well. So don't get caught in that like mix of credit card stuff. And I would say that maybe the best rule of thumb, if you're deciding you want to go for it, you're going to get a credit card, and you're like, I'm going to handle it just fine. If you find yourself like not paying the entire card off in full, like ever, I would just stop using it, chop it up, pay it off, and be done with it until you get to a place in your life where you feel like, hey, I can really manage a credit card.
And sometimes, I would say, like I think you were about to say this, on the flip side of that, if you are responsible enough to pay it off and you have the accountability in yourself or through a parent or someone else that you can use it strategically, credit cards are a great way to earn points to travel. It's something that we're really passionate about. So we're not saying to get one or not to get one. We're just saying be careful with them, because I know we both did that when we first got our first jobs. Unfortunately, my story with credit cards is why we are, I'm having to relearn how to use credit cards correctly. And I'm fortunate to have Ryan because he had a lot of discipline, we'll say. But I just wouldn't, you don't have to have one either. There's a misconception that you have to have a credit card, and it's just not true. Let us know in the comments below if you'd like a video on credit cards or even on investments. Please let us know what you think.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we've got for today's video. Thank you so much for checking it out. We hope that you liked it, and if you did, you can hit that like button. It really helps us out. If you have any more tips about managing finances, how you would start out, please leave them in the comments so that we can help everybody else out as well.
We do read those, so please bring them on. We love reading your comments. We especially are just excited to connect with you guys in the community that we have. If you are interested in seeing some of the behind the scenes happenings in our life, which is honestly work, dog, YouTube, there's not much else that happens, maybe a little bit of vegan food in between sprinkled in. But if you're interested in that, please check it out at Hey Olexa on our socials, on Instagram, or Michelle and Ryan Olexa on Facebook.
Or Ryan and Michelle, I think.
No, well, I tried. And as always, don't forget,
budget wisely
and compromise kindly.
See you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Put me together, take me back where I belong.
Alright, take two. Can we get one of those little things?
How badly do you want one?
I don't know, I'll think about it. Maybe I'll use my fun money and get
Is
one.
it in the budget? Is my next question.
I don't know.
Oy vey. Alright.
You know, Thor doesn't judge me.
Yes,
He's
he
a
does.
good boy.
He judges you. He just doesn't tell you. He tells me.